What's up, guys? Welcome back to Keeping Up with the X-Men. It's time to talk about the Adamantium Agenda, Part 2. This is a part of the 17 books from The Hunt for Wolverine. We already went into how I feel about that, but there is good news. This one is a little better. Definitely a little better than the other one. So, because we didn't go over Part 1, let me just go ahead and read the little thing here. It says, today Wolverine's body is missing from its final resting place. Iron Man has assembled Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Spider-Man to covertly attend a private underworld auction where Wolverine's body may be for sale. Now, when they get there, they figure out that it is Jessica and Luke's daughter's DNA that's being sold at this auction, and they're not too thrilled with that. So let's just get into this. The book starts after a giant explosion has happened and Wolverine is missing somewhere in the madness. They don't know exactly where he is, but they're looking for him. Iron Man does actually find Wolverine, but it doesn't lead to the greatest moment ever, because when you wake up Wolverine suddenly, especially after he's been killed and his body is reanimating, when he comes back, he tends to lash at the first thing that he sees, and that's exactly what he did here, is he took a big chunk, not a big chunk, he stabbed Iron Man right through the face. Now, this doesn't actually come to mean anything, because right after he stabs him through the face, bottom of the chin, up through the head, it's a pretty graphic scene. It's pretty crazy. Wolverine is really torn up and everything, but he stabs him. Bam! Now, right after he does that, Spider-Man is freaking out, but then Tony Stark pulls up in his freaking awesome car, and as if you guys don't know, I don't like Tony Stark. He's not my favorite person. At all. I don't like him. And this book is just one more moment, one more reason I don't like him. I hate him. Look, I know the Tony Stark fans are immediately going to defend this because it's funny. He pulls up in his car, and you figure out that the Iron Man that you just saw get stabbed is not actually Iron Man. He's a robot thing that Tony was controlling. And he makes this statement when Peter is like, oh my God, I thought you were... And he says, what? No. Didn't you hear the bomb disposal expert? This place is full of some kind of residual radiation, although it does appear to be dissipating. Here's my problem. One, if you had robotic, weird, controllable Iron Man thing, why didn't he stand in front of the bomb? Little bit of context. What was going on is they found a bomb. The bomb was going to go off. They had a couple of ideas for trying to defuse it. If it didn't work, the bomb was going to explode. They put Wolverine in front of the bomb because Wolverine was like, listen, so far ain't nothing I ever encountered can kill me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stand in front of the bomb. You guys go. So he stands in front of the bomb blows up. Kabloosity blow. Then Iron Man is looking for him, and everybody else is looking for him. There's a residual radiation in the air, and Tony had a remote control guy. Why didn't Tony's remote control guy stand in front of the bomb and blow up? First problem. Second problem. Tony is the kind of person that would leave his friends in the radioactive zone and not tell them that he had this robot that could go in and look. Tony Stark fans are going to come at me and say, oh, it was funny, man, it was funny. It's not funny. Tony Stark is I don't like Tony Stark. This scene says everything it needs to say about why I don't like Tony Stark, because he is this kind of person. And Wolverine will ask him a very serious question shortly after he comes back. He says, he sits down with Iron Robot, who's not actually Tony Stark, but being controlled by Tony Stark through the weird thing, so it's still remote control. He's talking to Tony Stark. He says, what would you have done if I'd have been dead? And he's like, I don't know, I'd have poked you with a stick. It's so funny. And Wolverine is like, no, this isn't a joke. I want to know. Because here's my thing. I've been prodded, poked, experimented, and I don't want that when I'm dead. I don't want my body to become some sort of science experiment when I'm dead and gone. That is not something that I'm interested in. It's not something that I want. And honestly, it crosses my mind that you would do that to me. And Tony's like, no. I promise I'll see past my own problems. I realize, and even he's kind of like, look, I get it, you're right. Sometimes I see the possibility or wondrous experiment before I see the people. Won't happen. And he's like, also, you need to make sure that it doesn't happen from somebody else as well. Okay. Promises made. Now we jump ahead to where Tony Stark is in a submarine with the others. His whole team is there, and they're there bidding in a black market. Now the other characters are waiting in the room, and Tony's in there, and turns out that their daughter comes up for auction. Their daughter's DNA, Jessica and Luke Cage's daughter, come up for sale, and they're like, what? That needs to be off the market right now. That needs to be off the market. And Tony listens to a couple of the bad guys that are like, oh, what? It's a little kid, doesn't even have powers. And then they're trying to be like, well, look, hey, yeah, but the parents have powers, which means inevitably this kid is probably going to have powers. And then the supervillains are all like, we don't care. And Tony is asked by the parents to get that off the market. And because he's Tony Stark, he reluctantly, $30,000. $30,000 over here. Nobody else bids. They make a big joke about it. He buys the DNA thing, the print of the DNA. Now, I'm sorry, Tony. I'm sorry that $30,000 was just more than you wanted to pay today to save some kid's life, and possibly in the future Luke Cage's wife or Jessica Jones's wife. I know it's a lot of money. I'm sure you just couldn't bear to lose that much money for some child's life. Now we jump a little further into the book, and he starts bidding on something else. And then they have like their comical moment where Spider-Man and him talk about how he's buying this computer, and he even rubs it in Parker's face, and Parker's like, no way, they're selling that? Man, I want that so bad. And he's like, you gonna come out here and bid against me? Now that your business had failed and you got no money and you're a complete washout and you're back to square one, Spider-Man, you gonna come do that? Because I'd hate to embarrass you in front of all these supervillains. And he's like, no, I'm not, because you're right. I'm kind of a loser, and you made me feel like a loser again. Just Tony Stark crap. Now, one of the people there does kind of call Tony out. They lean over and they're like, I think that's enough bidding for you today. You probably want to call this off before they figure out who you are, Mr. Stark. And then she walks off, and he's like, oh, crap. Guys, I just got outed. My bidding's done for the night. So they get up and they go back to the room, and they start to close out the deal that he made, when he says, I kind of wish you would have had something better. And he's like, what exactly did you hope that I had? And he says, well, quite honestly, I was looking for the DNA of, say, Logan, the Wolverine. That I'd be interested in. And he's like, yeah, well, and he's like, money would be no issue. And he's like, okay, $6 million. $6 million, and you can have Logan. You can have Logan DNA. And he's like, wait, you have it? And he's like, yeah, $6 million, it's yours. When all of a sudden, into the room comes, boom! Here comes Mr. Sinister. And like we didn't know when you're dealing with genetics and stuff like that, especially mutant DNA, if it had something to do with that, it was more than likely going to be Mr. Sinister. Now, because Mr. Sinister is an idiot, dumb Sinister is dumb. He blows a hole in the submarine with his pew-pew hand. Now, pew-pew hand blows a hole in the submarine because dumb Sinister is dumb. And then they all start washing out of the submarine when they're like, crap, we need to plug the hole somehow. And this I did love. I love this. I thought this was hysterical. I laughed. So they take Luke Cage and they push him up against the wall of the sub and web him to the wall. And as they leave, he's like, I am not a permanent solution to this problem. He's so mad. It was awesome. That part was awesome. That made up for having to deal with the Tony Stark and the I don't want to pay that much money to save a child, and I'm okay with having my friends in the hazardous radiation zone, and even though I could have stood in the front of the bomb, let's have Wolverine stand in front of the bomb. Like that made up for a lot of that. But during this little struggle, that girl that outed Tony comes into the room, and she's like, because Tony Stark made his little agenda, put him down, Sinister, and blah, blah. And then, because Sinister was going to kill the guy that was going to sell Logan's DNA. Right after that, she comes into the room. She's like, I would listen to him. She takes her mask off, and bum, it turns out to be the all-new Wolverine. A couple of things. One, this book was way better. It's way more enjoyable. It seems like the writing is a little better. It is fun. And when you can make me enjoy a book that has Tony Stark in it, you've done something right. Because I do not like Tony Stark. In case you somehow didn't know. Look, we talked about Tony Stark before when I talked about what the Phoenix is. And we've talked about Tony Stark other times in some of my other podcasts and things like that. I don't like him, but this book made me like him in this book. I did laugh at the ridiculousness of the situations, even though I did not like them when he was in them. Like, I don't like the idea that he drives up and he's like, yeah, there's a lot of radiation out here. Of course I'm in this car all protected and everything. But at the same time, that is his character. At least he was done right, even if I don't like it. The rest of it is pretty good. I will say that I'm starting to think now that Laura's here. One thing, why is she here? I get it. She's popular. People love her. People want to see her in books. That's great. And I guess this is the last little moment of time that she gets to be the Wolverine. Okay, it's cool. I get it. I see it. But why is she here? I'm starting to wonder if maybe, because there's a lot of bait and switch in these books that's kind of running us in circles, maybe it's not Logan Wolverine DNA that they have on the boat or submarine. Maybe it's Laura DNA. Maybe. I don't know. Be about the same thing, wouldn't it? I mean, I guess there's fundamental differences. There has to be, otherwise she wouldn't turn into a woman instead of, I don't know. Whatever. I really don't. She's here. Why is she here? Because she's the all-new Wolverine and because people love her and because we have to have her in the books. That's why. That's why. There's really no other reason for her to be here because, I don't know. Yeah. Not a bad cover. Strong cover. Pretty strong story. I don't know why Laura's here. I hope they actually explain how Laura got invited secretly like, she was at a black market auction. I'm not sure how she got in because Tony has connections and money and he kind of bought his way in there secretly, where Laura has claws. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know too much about her. To be fair, I do read the all-new Wolverine comic, and I'm looking forward to the X-23 comic, but from what I've seen, she doesn't seem to have a bunch of underground connections that would put her into a situation like this where she could get here. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why she's here. Convenient plot device. Anyways, that's all. That was Adamantium Agenda. Adamantium Agenda number 2 from The Hunt for Wolverine. I'm sorry, guys. I got kind of a cough here, and it's making my voice not the best thing in the world for me right now. So I think we're gonna close this out. You are now all caught up with the Adamantium Agenda. Later. Hey guys, I'm going through the footage here, and I'm trying to lock down the footage and fix it. I'm not gonna work on the audio. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm gonna go to all pictures for a while, because the pictures, I tried something new, as you've seen when I did this book just now. But I think I'm gonna go to the backgrounds like I was doing with a couple of pictures here and there, because I can't figure out what's going on. Something is desyncing my video while I'm editing, and it's causing my sound to not sync up with the video. I have no clue what's happening, and it seems to be happening a lot. I'm going to have to track down exactly what it is that's taking place, but it's happening if I record on my phone or if I record on the webcam. It doesn't seem to matter. Either one, it's doing it, and I can't figure out why it's doing it. And the real irritating thing is that sometimes, like if I have to do like 5 or 6 clips of something, it will be synced up and then not synced up and then synced up and then not. And I don't understand what is happening, why sometimes when I record, the audio is syncing up and sometimes it's not. So just to avoid that problem for a while I do some video tests and figure it out, for a while, all the videos are probably going to be just pictures with me talking, and I'm sure you don't necessarily mind that, so you're not going to see my pretty mug as if I had one. That's all. Anyways, I'm happy to be back. So, yeah, keeping up with the X-Men later on.